One Piece is fundamentally a story about dreams. Not your typical vague, motivational poster dreams, but instead raw, life-defining, world-shaking dreams that demand everything from the people who carry them. And no two characters embody that theme more completely than Monkey D. Luffy and Marshall D. Teach. They share the same goal, the same initial letter in their names, the same bottomless appetite, and the same unshakable belief that a person's dream should never die. But the way they pursue those dreams, the philosophy, the cost, and the collateral are worlds apart. It's the fact that they are the same archetype filtered through two completely different souls. One is a sun that pulls people into orbit through warmth and gravity. The other is a black hole that draws everything in and crushes it. Every time they cross paths, in a bar in Jaya, in Impel Down, or the fields of Marineford, Oda is asking one question. What kind of dreamer deserves to inherit the world? Oh, and before we begin, there's going to be spoilers for everything up to Elbaf. Marshall D. Teach, known as Blackbeard, is one of the four emperors of the sea and the admiral of the Blackbeard pirates. He started as a nobody, an orphan with no ship, no crew, and no devil fruit, who joined the Whitebeard Pirates' 2nd Division and spent over 2 decades hiding in plain sight as a low-ranking, goofy crewmate. That patience is the first thing that separates him from nearly every other pirate in the story. While others fought their way to prominence through brute force or charisma, Teach simply waited. His plan was specific from the beginning. He wanted the dark fruit, which he had studied and identified as the most powerful Logia-type devil fruit in existence. When the 4th Division Commander Thatch found the fruit by chance, Teach murdered him, his own crewmate, a man who trusted him, and defected from the Whitebeard Pirates with the fruit in hand. That single act launched a chain of events that would reshape the entire world. Ace pursuing Teach for revenge, Teach capturing Ace and trading him to the Marines for a warlord position, the Summit War at Marineford, and eventually Whitebeard's death. After the war, Teach used his warlord status to infiltrate Impel Down and recruit the most dangerous criminals from level 6, resign from the warlords on the spot, and then return to Marineford to steal Whitebeard's devil fruit, making him the only known person in history to wield 2 devil fruit powers simultaneously. He then hunted down the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates in the Payback War, seized Whitebeard's former territories, and ascended to emperor status. As of the current story, he commands a massive fleet, has a bounty of almost 4 billion berries, and is confirmed to be the son of Rox D. Zebek, the strongest pirate of the previous generation, or you can even call him the real Pirate King. Blackbeard's personality is a deliberate contradiction, and that's what makes him brilliant as a character. He oscillates between buffoonery and menace, between cowardice and boldness. Oda designed him to be uncomfortable, a villain you can't fully dismiss as a monster because he keeps saying things that sound right. His childhood is the key to understanding him. The SBS drawings and flashbacks depict young Teach as a weeping child, alone under the moonlight, unable to sleep. Now confirmed as the son of Rox, we can guess a childhood marked by the shadow of a monstrous father, a father who wanted to conquer the world and was destroyed at God Valley before Teach could have known him. Whether Teach knows this or not, and recent chapters suggest he does, the psychological imprint is clear. He grew up feeling owed something by a world that gave him nothing. That deprivation manifests as a philosophy of acquisition. Blackbeard doesn't want to create, he wants to take. He took the dark fruit by murdering a friend. He took his warlord position by betraying Ace. He took his crew from the worst pit in the world. He took Whitebeard's power from a dead man's corpse. Every milestone of this man's career is built on someone else's loss. And yet this is the part that makes him so effective as a character. He genuinely believes in dreams. His famous declaration in Jaya, "People's dreams never end," is not a lie or a performance. Teach truly believes that dreams are the most sacred thing in the world. He just also believes that the world is amoral, that there is no inherent good or evil, and that if your dream requires you to kill, betray, and steal, that's simply the cost of admission. He mocks anyone who talks about justice or evil as naive. In his worldview, only outcomes matter. This is what makes him the dark interpretation of the will of D. He carries every surface-level trait of a D: the ambition, the belief in fate, the recklessness, the appetite for life. But he lacks the one trait that defines every other carrier: the ability to smile in the face of death. When Whitebeard struck back at Marineford, Blackbeard panicked. He begged. He showed genuine terror. Every other D we've seen, whether that be Roger, Ace, Luffy, or Law, they face death with grace, even joy. Teach faces it with cowardice, and that cowardice tells you everything about the kind of dreamer he is. One whose dream is ultimately rooted in self-preservation. He's a coward. Him wielding the darkness fruit is clearly a metaphor. His devil fruit allows him to create a gravitational force that pulls everything into nothingness. It nullifies other devil fruits on contact. It absorbs attacks but amplifies the pain. Teach feels. It's a logia that doesn't grant intangibility, the one defining feature of logia fruits, meaning Teach is perpetually vulnerable even as he wields what he claims is the strongest fruit. This is Blackbeard's soul, expressed as a power set. He draws everything toward himself: people, abilities, territories, power. But he feels every impact, and he gives nothing back. His liberation doesn't free anything. He represents that all things, given enough time and selfishness, collapse into nothing. Monkey D. Luffy is the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. He ate the Gum Gum fruit, which was later revealed to be the mythical human fruit. Model Nika, which grants him a rubber body and, upon awakening, the absurd reality-bending powers of the sun god Nika. He's the grandson of the marine legend Garp, the son of the revolutionary leader Dragon, and the sworn brother of Portugas D. Ace and Sabo. His bounty stands at 3 billion berries, and he's recognized as one of the 4 emperors after defeating Kaido in Wano. But none of those facts capture who Luffy actually is. Who Luffy is at his core is a force of nature that refuses to accept a world where people can't be free. His dream to become king of the pirates is not about ruling anyone. He stated it explicitly. Being Pirate King means being the freest person on the sea. No crown, no throne, no empire. Just the ability to go wherever he wants, eat whatever he wants, and protect the people he loves without anyone telling him he can. Luffy's worldview is deceptively simple. He doesn't think in terms of good and evil, justice or injustice. He acts entirely on instinct and emotion, and his instincts happen to be extraordinarily moral. When he sees someone suffering under a tyrant, he destroys the tyrant. When he sees a friend in danger, he throws himself into the fire. He doesn't do these things because he considers them right. He does them because not doing them would be unbearable to him. This is the crucial distinction that separates Luffy from a traditional hero. He explicitly rejects the label. He's selfish in the most innocent way imaginable. He wants what he wants, and what he wants is freedom, adventure, and the well-being of his friends. The miracle of his character is that this purely selfish desire produces selfless outcomes everywhere he goes, whether that be Alabasta, Water 7, Thriller Bark, Fishman Island, Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, or Wano. The pattern never changes. Luffy arrives, finds people crushed under someone else's imposed will, and breaks the chains. Not as a liberator with a political agenda, but as a pirate who can't stand the sight of stolen freedom. The people he liberates then choose to follow him, fight for him, love him. The beauty of it is he doesn't command it. It's because his freedom is infectious. As Mihawk observed, his most dangerous power is his ability to make allies with everyone he meets. Luffy's secret dream, the one he shared with Ace and Sabo as a child, and later with his crew, which made them laugh and cry simultaneously, appears to be something almost embarrassingly simple and pure. It's a dream so childlike and sincere that it could only come from someone who never let cynicism touch his heart. But that's a topic for another day. If you guys want to see a separate video on that, let me know in the comments. Anyway, the Nika fruit revelation recontextualizes Luffy's entire journey. His power isn't just rubber, it's the power of liberation, of joy, of imagination made manifest. Gear 5 turns Luffy into a cartoon, a being who reshapes reality through laughter and play. It's the ultimate expression of his character. Even his fighting style is an act of freedom, unbounded by the laws of physics or logic. But Oda is careful to establish that Nika didn't choose Luffy arbitrarily. The fruit awakened because of who Luffy already was. He didn't become joyful because he ate the Nika fruit. The Nika fruit responded to his joy. He isn't Joy Boy just because destiny selected him. He became Joy Boy simply because he lived the will of D so perfectly that the universe recognized him. This is the opposite of Blackbeard, who hunted his fruit, killed for it, and forced his way to power. Luffy's power came to him because he was already the person it was meant for. Their first meeting in Mocktown is one of the greatest scenes in manga, and Oda knew it when he drew it. 2 future emperors, both complete unknowns at the time, sit at the same grimy bar in a lawless town. They order the same cherry pie. Luffy hates it but loves the drink. Blackbeard loves the pie but hates the drink. They consume the same things. They experience them in opposite ways. Same inputs, inverted outputs. But it's what happens after that elevates the scene from clever to iconic. Bellamy has just humiliated Luffy and Zoro, mocking the idea of Sky Island, of dreams, of everything the old era of piracy stood for. Luffy took the beating without retaliating because the fight wasn't worth his time. As the Straw Hats leave, bruised and covered in alcohol, Blackbeard steps forward and delivers the line we all know and love. People's dreams don't ever end. And Luffy doesn't smile. In a story where Luffy's grin is practically a superpower, his face goes blank. He stares at Blackbeard with an expression that's hard to read. Luffy understanding on some gut level that this person shares his conviction, but channels it through something darker. The scene ends with an equally significant detail. As Blackbeard walks away, both Luffy and Zoro note that something is off about him. It's not him, it's them. Even before any of the multi-body theories or the Zebek revelations, the story flags Blackbeard as something fundamentally unnatural. A being who is plural where he should be singular. Jaya establishes the entire framework. Two men believe absolutely in dreams. For one, that belief is a source of hope and connection. For the other, it's a justification for limitless hunger. Their second encounter takes place inside the greatest prison in the world, and the staging is perfect. Luffy is descending, racing deeper into hell to save his brother Ace from execution. Blackbeard is ascending, climbing toward the most dangerous criminals on level 6 to recruit them for his crew. When they collide, the emotional register shifts completely from the philosophical sparring of Jaya. Luffy attacks Blackbeard with raw rage. This is the man who captured Ace, who handed his brother to the Marines, who set the execution in motion. The parallel deepens when you look at what each of them gains from Impel Down. Luffy's rebellion, the chaos he causes breaking through every level, is what creates the opening for Blackbeard to reach level 6 and recruit his monsters. And Blackbeard's crew member Lafitte had already hypnotized the Marines controlling the gates of justice, which is what allows Luffy to even reach Marineford in time. Their destinies are literally intertwined. Every action one takes creates an opportunity for the other. Even their survival mirrors perfectly. Luffy barely survives Magellan's poison through Ivankov's hormonal treatment, 10 years taken off his lifespan. Blackbeard's crew is poisoned by Magellan too, but they used Shiryu's antidote, which was a clean, painless shortcut. One had to pay with his body and the other paid with nothing. Marineford is where their parallel reaches its most devastating peak. They are on the same battlefield, in the same war, at the same pivot point in history, and their outcomes are perfectly inverted. Luffy arrives at the greatest war in history to save his brother. He fights through admirals, warlords, and an army of marines with nothing but the will to not let Ace die, to the point where he even activated his Conqueror's Haki for the first time. But nevertheless, we all know what happened. On the other end, Blackbeard arrives at the same war to steal power from a dying Whitebeard. While Luffy's world collapses, his spirit shattered, his body broken, Blackbeard's world expands. He takes Whitebeard's Tremor fruit, becoming the only person in history to wield 2 devil fruits, and declares himself the strongest man alive. The symmetry we see here is insane. They are both on the same stage, at the same turning point. One man loses his brother and his will. The other gains the world's most destructive power and his empire. Luffy's dreamer's heart shatters. Blackbeard's dreamer's scheme is vindicated, and Whitebeard's dying words tie it all together. He tells Blackbeard, "You are not the one Roger is waiting for." Not because Teach lacks the D, or the ambition, or the power, because he lacks the spirit. The person Roger was waiting for, the inheritor of Joy Boy's will, would be someone who dreams not for himself but for everyone. Someone who smiles at death instead of fearing it. Someone who builds instead of takes. Oda has constructed Luffy and Blackbeard's journeys as an almost mathematical inversion of each other, and the pattern holds at every level. Luffy accidentally ate a seemingly weak fruit through a moment of childish impulse. Blackbeard spent decades researching, waiting, and then murdered a friend to acquire the fruit he'd identified as the strongest. Luffy's crew is built entirely on bonds of love, trust, and shared dreams. Every Straw Hat has a personal reason for following Luffy that goes beyond power. Blackbeard's crew is assembled from opportunists, criminals, and people bound by fear or ambition. Luffy became an emperor by defeating Kaido at full strength, liberating an entire nation, and earning the respect of the world. Blackbeard became an emperor by ambushing a dying Whitebeard, stealing his power, and crushing the leaderless remnants of his crew. Luffy uses his genuine friendship with Robin, who reads the poneglyphs willingly out of her own dream to uncover history. Blackbeard, however, unable to replicate that bond, kidnaps or coerces others to achieve the same goal. Every island Luffy visits is better off for his arrival. Every island Blackbeard targets is worse off. The mirroring even extends to how they interact with the same events. Luffy defeating Crocodile opens a warlord position that Blackbeard fills. Luffy's chaos in Impel Down enables Blackbeard's level 6 recruitment. Luffy's rampage through Totland creates a power vacuum Blackbeard exploits. They are locked in an endless feedback loop where each one's actions create opportunities for the other. The deepest layer of their rivalry is the word freedom, and how each of them defines it. Blackbeard's freedom is acquisitive. Freedom means the power to impose your will without restriction, to take what you want, go where you want, crush anyone who stands in your way. It's the freedom of the strong man, the conqueror, the tyrant who calls himself a liberator. This is the literal spiritual inheritance of Rox, who wanted to be king of the world. Blackbeard's freedom is zero-sum. For him to have more, someone else must have less. Luffy's freedom is generative. Freedom means the ability to live authentically while empowering everyone around you to do the same. Luffy doesn't just free himself, he frees everyone he encounters. His freedom is contagious. People see him living so unabashedly, so recklessly, so joyfully free that they rediscover their own capacity for freedom. His freedom multiplies. It's the opposite of a zero-sum game. This distinction is why Whitebeard could look at Blackbeard, a fellow D, a fellow dreamer, a man with more raw power than almost anyone alive, and say with certainty, "You are not the one." The one Roger was waiting for wouldn't just claim freedom for himself. He'd bring the dawn, a new era where everyone could live freely. That's what Joy Boy promised. That's what Nika represents. And that's who Luffy is. Both Luffy and Blackbeard carry the D in their names, marking them as inheritors of the mysterious Will of D, the ancient lineage that the world government calls God's natural enemy. But the story increasingly suggests that the D is not a guarantee of righteousness, it's a guarantee of impact. Carriers of the D shake the world, for better or worse. Luffy embodies the bright side of the D, the smiling in the face of death, the refusal to kneel, the infectious spirit that turns enemies into allies and inspires revolutions without even trying. He is the inheritor of Joy Boy's spirit, not because of his bloodline or some prophecy, but because he is that kind of person. The fruit merely recognized what was already there. Blackbeard embodies the dark side, the ambition untethered from compassion, the belief in fate used to justify any cruelty, the raw power of a D aimed not at liberation, but at domination. He is his father's son. Rox wanted to conquer the world, and Teach inherited that hunger along with the D in his name. He carries the letter but not the spirit. One Piece, for all its comedy and spectacle and world building, is asking a single question across 1100 chapters and counting. What does it cost to be truly free? And what kind of person can pay that price without losing their soul? Blackbeard's answer is clear. Freedom costs other people's lives, other people's power, other people's dreams, and he's willing to pay with their currency indefinitely. His dream is a black hole. It grows by consuming everything around it, and no amount of power will ever fill the void at its center. He feared death as a child, and he fears it now. That fear is the engine of his entire philosophy. Acquire enough power that nothing can ever threaten you again. Luffy's answer is equally clear. Freedom costs your own comfort, safety, and body. He pays with 10 years of his lifespan in Impel Down. He pays with the trauma of Ace's death. He literally pays with broken bones in every arc, but he never pays with someone else's dream. His freedom is a sun. It gives warmth to everything in its orbit, and the more he gives, the brighter it burns. Oda has been setting this up since chapter 223, in a bar in Jaya. Two men with the same pie, with opposite tastes, with the same dream but opposite souls. The genius of it is that Blackbeard isn't the villain because he's different. He's the villain because he's almost the same, and the slight difference between them is the difference between a world swallowed by darkness and a world bathed in a new dawn. So guys, if you enjoyed the video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. This video was a longer one, so please let me know what you guys think in the comments.